Live look at the White House tonight, where some big changes are coming to the Correspondents' Corps, meaning the journalists. Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt says White House officials will pick which news outlets can cover the president up close, rather than the White House Correspondents Association, which is independent from the White House. Leavitt said they will rotate some traditional outlets out and include some streaming services. The White House claims the move makes the press pool more inclusive, but critics say it's ultimately the president deciding who gets to cover him. Joining us to talk about it, pastor and journalist Dr. Ruth Olison and CEO of Regal Media and journalist Todd Smith. Glad to have you back both here on The Factor Uncensored. One of the things that she said also, the press secretary, was that the legacy organizations will remain, but they're going to switch some of the others in and out. Legacy being CBS, NBC, CNN, all of those. So your thoughts about this, what do you think the end game is here for the administration?
Well, I think the end game, more importantly, the end game for the people is there's a threat to democracy when you don't have freedom of the press. Mm-hmm. And the press, as you know, is a watchdog. You can't, when you go out to cover something or someone, you've got to be able to ask questions according to what you deem as a journalist that you need to ask. Right. And just because they get pissed off with you, did I say that? Yes. You can't stop. You can't stop people from asking you hard questions, and the public needs the leaders to have hard questions. And if a leader can now say, okay, well, you don't get to talk to me because I don't like your questions, that's dangerous.
This comes on the heels, Todd, of the AP being banned from the White House. Associated Press, what many of us in journalism call the Bible of journalism. You know, they've been there forever, but they've been banned from the White House. So your thoughts about this new plan, rotating in, bringing in new media to cover the president?
When you say new media, I'm glad you called them new media and not actual journalists. There are some journalists that are part of new media. I consider myself one of those, but I think a lot of people don't know the difference between a media personality and a journalist. Mm-hmm. If you're a journalist, you're in the media, but if you're in the media, you're not necessarily a journalist. So like Dr. Ruth said, if I'm a far-right news organization, I'm a Trump fan, I might not ask that tough question. Right. I might not dig a little deeper to find out the truth. I might just take what you say and ask gospel, like you said, the Bible is AP, and just put it out there. But I want the Trump administration to know that even if you don't have those journalists asking hard questions, those hard questions are going to get answered. Because if I'm a great journalist, okay, I can't talk to you, I'm going to develop some sources in the White House. I'm going to develop some sources in Congress. I'm going to develop some sources in and around D.C. to get to the bottom of some of this. I'm going to talk to the American citizens. I'm going to ask them how certain policies are affecting them. So you're not going to stop the truth. You're just making it harder for yourself to explain yourself. You know what I mean? Because somebody might say something negative about Trump, and he might have a good answer for it. But if you're not taking those hard questions, you can't necessarily express yourself. And journalists get a bad rep. But like Dr. Ruth said, we're a watchdog. We're that fourth branch of government. Mm-hmm. We hold politicians accountable. Yeah, you have social media, but I can just put, as a politician, I can put anything on social media, and it could be just false. Mm-hmm. A real journalist is going to challenge you, and that's what you sign up for. We're not your friend. We're the friend of the American public, and we're going to do what's best for them. But he won't stop the truth from getting out. He can have whoever he wants. He can ban whoever he wants. But a real journalist will go around there and get the news out to the people.
But the same way, the way things are set up there is in the press room. There are chairs. They have names on them, and people are represented. And so on the other side, I remember covering Washington, working in Washington, and always the AP got the first question, and sometimes UPI got the first question, and then it was always an order. Right. And so when I said, why do they go first? Well, that's the way it's always been. Okay, why? There's also, we can also ask why, and so maybe they are also just asking, well, why? And so they began to push that envelope, and it's a tradition. And some traditions, it's okay to upset some of those. I'm not saying this is one of them, but I can say if I was a young reporter and I got
You'd
a
love
chance
the
to go and I
opportunity to
love
have
it, like,
that.
oh, I'm going to get to ask a question.
Or the old school Sam Donaldson, just
Yeah.
yell the questions at the president.
Yeah.
Thank you all for joining us.
Okay.